radio.com with DJ Sakara, and we are about to have an interview with the Leatherneck Raiders Guild from Atlantic, better known as the LNR Guild. Now, before we start this interview, I do want to specify a little something. There's a number of guilds that were somewhat offended that they weren't selected to be the first guild that we were going to have an interview with. And I want to just specify one thing. When we decided to do the interviews with the various guilds, we looked at a number of guilds that we were interested in interviewing. And since I was going to be doing the interview myself, I basically wanted to start with guilds that I know a little better, which are guilds from Atlantic. And LNR happened to be one of the guilds that not only fitted the profile of the kind of guilds we wanted to interview, but also happens to be available at the time that we were ready for these interviews. So that's basically why LNR is being interviewed today. So don't be jealous. Your turn will come. And no, the other guilds complaining we're not Atlantic guilds for the record, but we will be having plenty of interviews in the upcoming weeks, so everybody cheer up. Now, for the interview, we have 3 members of LNR. The Guildmaster, Obsidian Knight, and 2 of his council members, Gadget and Odin. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hello.
Actually, you might want to say hi and say your name so that people can recognize your voices. Let's start with Obsidian.
Hello, this is Obsidian Knight, GM of LNR.
And Gadget.
This is Gadget, sexiest man in UO.
Okay, if you say so. And then Odin.
Hello, this is Odin from LNR.
Alrighty, so now that the guys have introduced themselves, we're going to start with our first questions. And don't forget, if you want to ask them questions or you want to comment on some of the stuff that will be coming out during the interview, you can post your questions and comments in IRC, your radio channel, or you can ICQ them, or post them on our forums on yourradio.com, and we will be more than happy to ask the questions for you on air. So, starting off, the first question is going to be for you, Obsidian, since you are the GM of the guild. Why Leatherneck Raiders? Where did that name come from?
Well, this was started back in, the early 90s, and Leatherneck Raiders were actually a small division of the cartoon G.I. Joe. And I don't know, it's about 7 years ago, and we played in a basketball tournament. Thought it'd be goofy to do Sergeant Slaughter and the Leatherneck Raiders, and just kind of went from there. It'd be about 7 years ago, put me about 15 years old, I don't know. Just something to do back then.
And how long exactly has your guild been around?
It was founded a little bit after beta. I actually played in beta, but the guild was right after beta is when I started forming it.
But were you like mostly, well, there was no trial at the time, but it seems to me that it's only recently that your presence has really been noted, at least in Feluca. So has your vocation changed over the years, or were you pretty much almost the same thing? Well, then again, there were no champ spawns originally, but I guess this is like a double question. Has your vocation changed over the years? And also, I guess, like, what does your guild really is about?
Well, I guess it's changed over the years just because the game has changed. But, when I first started off, we were just actively doing, other stuff. The Bucks Den gate fighting was big at the time, and we had a War Stone, 911, and we'd run around and fight, do that type of deal. But just, the phases that everybody goes through with, you quit, and then when you stop playing for a while, people start losing interest in the guild, and it just kind of just falls apart, and then you start playing again, and I don't know, I just recently, we've been fairly strong for a while now, but I just recently, I've got a lot of good guys that, when I'm not on, kind of oversees what goes on in the guild, and that's why it's most successful now than, when it was before, because, I didn't really have anybody, there in place to watch what was going on when I wasn't on. So, So it's really taken off pretty good here lately. But we just got a bunch of people that like to do champ spawns.
So basically you're all about spawns.
Well, for the most part. With the champ spawns, you incorporate the fighting. I'm not much for the U-gate fighting, and that's pretty much the only other place to go if you want any kind of PvPing. So we usually, try to do despises or, whatever to try to bring the fight to us, because I'm not for one, for house fighting or U-gate fighting.
Okay, I guess since you were talking about how your guild has now become fairly strong, and I guess, the question is clearly mostly aimed at the GM, but your council members are also welcome to give their input on this one. But basically, how do you rank your guild among all the current other fel guilds, or the competition, I guess, on Atlantic at the moment?
I feel that we're fairly competitive. I know that we're probably the only guild on the Shard that don't have allies or, quote, friends on the Shard. I think that we do fairly well, fighting the whole Shard. I wish that there was more people out there that were interested in doing the same thing, but, obviously there isn't on Atlantic. So I feel that we are doing pretty good. As far as the champ scene goes, I feel that, for a while now that we've pretty much did what we wanted as far as champ spawns go. So I think that we're doing pretty good on Atlantic right now.
When you say that you wish other guilds would do the same thing that you're currently doing, you're referring as about having no allies?
Well, I'm just referring to fighting everyone. Like, we'll go into, a champ spawn, everybody will stop what they're doing, and everybody, regardless if they're allied, friends, or whatever, stop to fight us, which I think is kind of lame. I think it would be more respectful for each individual guild if everybody would, fight everybody. I think it would make Atlantic a better Shard if everybody would do that, because, for instance, like the Harrower that we did earlier today, you never ever see, obviously you see the DEI, Sin, and Hot, whatever, they always fight together, but they've never not fighted together. But, you see all them guilds and they all rush in, Reds, Blues, whatever, one main objective to fight us, and, if it was the opposite way around, which there's not many Harrys being spawned by any other guild, at this time, but everybody would turn against us to fight us, and then go about their business.
Well, if I can play the devil's advocate on this one, back when DI, Hot, and Sin were allied, it was pretty much the same thing, except it was reversed. When one of us would do a Harry, then the entire Shard would have an informal alliance, you could say, to basically crush us, and then they would go about whatever, slaughtering each other if they so pleased. So I think it's a bit normal now that since you guys have such imposing numbers and you're the ones summoning, that people will have form of temporary truce to basically knock you down, and then, we can go about slaughtering each other if we so please at the end. I think Odin wants to comment on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Odin from LNR. I mean, it's been a long time since one guild with no allies has accomplished what we've done on the Shard. I mean, you take for the past year or so, you had that large alliance, and they just had a chokehold over all the spawns, all the scrolls, and this has really opened up an opportunity for a lot of newer members that we've recruited to do a lot of things that they've never been able to do because there was such a stronghold and wasn't able to get in those other guilds.
Which is true, and being the GM of one of those guilds, I can tell you that one of the reasons these three guilds have not re-allied is because now that we're no longer that one unit, it gives other guilds, like it gave LNR, the chance to grow again and bring more competition. Yes, Obsidian, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, well, you say that you're not allied now, or you say, that it gives opportunity, but as soon as a champ's going on or whatever, everybody rolls in together. It's basically the same thing as being allied. You might not be green on the stone, but I'm pretty sure that you guys are all working, together for one common goal, just like if you were allied.
Well, if I can comment on that, I would have to say that there is a huge difference. If Sin, DI, and Hot were to ally today, you guys probably would not be enjoying this the way you are right now, because by not being allied, it means we don't actually call each other to go raid, and we don't call each other when we're getting raided. If you come raiding DI, for instance, we're going to take our licks. If a Hot member or a Sin member happens to be passing by and sees it and wants to interfere, they want to help out, we're not going to tell them leave. But we don't actually call them, say, hey, come help us because, we're getting raided. But if we were to be allied, then we would, and you would see a very significant change in the dynamics. So that's one thing to take into consideration. Yes, Odin?
I don't know. I find that really hard to believe that you don't call in ICQ, because it's just awful funny that you guys are all in the house together preparing for your raids. You all roll in together at the same time. I mean, I doubt very seriously there's no communication between you when it comes to this. I've seen too many of you guys roll together.
Oh, there's no doubt that it does happen sometimes. Like, for instance, if we're hanging with a few of them, or I'm talking with one of them on ICQ, and then, I go, oh, shoot, I got to go. And they're like, what's up? And I'm like, well, LNR's doing a Harry or something. Obviously, they're going to call all their buddies, and you're going to get, a hell of a lot of people. But it's just to tell you that, no, we don't actually go, the minute we get crashed and say, all right, guys, come over, or, other such things. It does happen, though, that we have some Hot members that hang out in our TeamSpeak. So if we're in the middle of a spawn and saying, hey, we're everybody that's not at the spawn right now, come over because we're getting raided, they happen to be in our TeamSpeak, so they will hear about it. But to say that we actually go out and contact them, no, we don't. Yeah, Odin, I'm going to take your another comment regarding this, and then we're going to move on to other questions, and then we're going to come back to this debate about allies. Go ahead, Odin.
I really don't see the need why three guilds of equal size of LNR we need to ally up with each other to form one super guild in an alliance just to combat that one guild. I mean, I really don't see the reasoning behind it. I don't see what fun it would be. Do they really need that many numbers to combat us, in the field?
Well, that's actually, it's interesting that you would say that, because, well, first off, we're not allying to fight you guys. As I explained earlier, it just happens, just the same way that for a while there, we would get raided by S, and lo and behold, here comes LNR. Does that mean that S called you? Probably not. You just happened to be scouting at the same time. But as far as three guilds being your same numbers, I wouldn't say that, because you guys have a lot, and I do mean a lot of numbers, but you also have a lot of them that are very active. If you look at HOT's roster, it's pretty big, but how many of the members are currently active playing or as available maybe as some of your own members? That is debatable. And I think we can say pretty much the same thing about Sin. Recently, their activity level seems to have dwindled quite a bit. Then again, from my understanding, they're also fairly heavily into factions at the moment. So, and that leaves us, and even us, I mean, we do have a fairly good number of active members, but there's quite a few people that are away for whatever, or just like taking a break from UO, or whatnot. So the numbers on the stone mean absolutely nothing. It's the number on the fields that make the whole difference. And I have to say, we have been rated quite a few times by LNR, and it was like 25 plus people to our 7 or 8 that were spawning. So, it does kind of change the figures significantly when you look at it that way. Yes, Obsidian.
Yeah, back to where you said that S would crash and then we would crash. But see, the difference between that scenario rather than you guys crashing us is we would attack S. There's never been one time where we have not went into the champ spawn and S has been there fighting that we have not attacked S. We tried an alliance with them, but we were never allowed to be at the same champ spawn, which lasted like 2 days, and it never worked out. It just wasn't meant to be. But when you guys would come in, I'm positive that DEI, Sin, and HOT were not going to be attacking each other. I mean, it's completely different than, you saying, well, S came in, then LNR came in, whatever. But that's completely different.
Well, well, I don't want us to go into an in-depth debate about, LNR versus S versus DI and HOT and whatever. But I do have to say, like, regarding this, it's pretty much what I was trying to say earlier, that we have a truce with HOT and Sin, so clearly we're not going to be attacking them. But if we do come into a spawn that we're crashing, it makes no sense for me to try to fight two people than to focus on one. It's like, if I'm coming to crash you and you have the greater numbers, why would I put myself in a position to be attacked from the front and the rear if I can just like get rid of you first and then move on to whoever else? Anyways, I'm going to take, like I said, one last comment about this and then moving on to the other questions, because we're really straying from what this interview is supposed to be about. Yes, Odin, what did you want to say?
Yeah, one of my first days in LNR, there was 5 or 6 of us on the island. We were doing a spawn, and 30 to 40 DEI, HOT, and Sin rolled in, crashed us, in your comparison about, how we crashed you without numbers. So, I mean, that's why a lot of our guys don't feel bad whatsoever about zerging the hell out of everyone else on the shards, because we were always on the other end of that, of the alliance.
Yeah, I can understand that. And actually, it's funny that you would comment about this, because that's what the next question was going to be about. And it's the fact that your guild has been heavily criticized by many people, actually, on your recruiting policies. Because, as you know, the Zerg is the new in word these days on Atlantic. I've been wondering if other shards actually use that expression, but the new thing is everybody is accusing everybody else of zerging, and you called many other guilds Zerg guilds and alliances, but you've been accused of recruiting left and right. Pretty much anybody that would say yes, and I mean, I guess now would be a good chance for you guys to comment about that and say, like, what are your recruiting policies, and is any of it true? So I guess Obsidian, go ahead.
Well, I don't really. We recruit just like anybody else does. I mean, I could make a fake ICQ, get on a different account where nobody knows and join your guild, Sin Guild, and Hot. I could join everybody's guild on 3 separate characters. I mean, I don't understand where everybody comes off. I've heard this before out of people. I don't really understand how everybody, a big recruitment process. I mean, I don't really understand, not to turn this back around on you, but what is DEI's recruitment process, and how would it be so much different than ours?
I guess the question would really be, what is your recruitment process? We do have one. In our case, we have people that want to join us need to have sponsors, and their sponsors need to be current active members of DEI. And all our new members have, if they once they have their sponsors, they have to abide naturally to by a certain number of rules. And during their entire probation process, any action, anything they do, their sponsor is 100% responsible for it, which means if they screw up, their sponsor gets punished. And the severity of the punishment of their sponsor is directly proportional to how bad the screw-up was. So people think about it twice before they actually sponsor somebody into our guild, because they know there might be repercussions for them if they just sponsor the first noob that they meet. So it is harder to get into our guild because we don't just allow in anybody. So that's basically my question to you. What is your requirement? I know Hot has their own recruiting policies, and so does Sin. I can't really comment on them because I don't know them too well, but I do know there is some sort of a selection process, and I'm just wondering, what is yours? Go ahead, Gadget.
Well, I just like to say it's not like we put on our shiniest neon clothes, write up some books, and set some tables up in Haven. We have pretty much the same recruiting policies as you. It's just people want to join our guild more. We're doing better these days.
Okay, so basically, if, let's say I'm a noob, or I'm just a player, and I'm in, let's say, Westbrook Bank, spamming, looking to join a champ spawn guild. What basically would I have to do or to get into LNR? I mean, if there's an LNR member that's there and I go up to him and say, I want to join your guild, what would he tell me? Yes, Odin, go ahead.
I think the most important thing to be, get into LNR would be to have an active account and actually be in game playing. That's the most important thing we look for. But with the recruitment policy, if someone's spamming at the bank, they have no idea who LNR is or who does champ spawns and PvP. He won't have the same game style that a lot of our members will have. So that member there you don't even talk to. But if someone does champ spawns, they get raided, they PvP against other members, they get to know people, they'll know who we are, and they'll figure out where to find us.
Fair enough. Okay, a different question on a totally different topic, and this one is actually something that popped up on the hot boards, and basically you guys came under fire about the fact that you don't organize in-game events for the community at large, which most of the other larger guilds have done at one point or another. And naturally, there is nowhere written that any big guild has an obligation towards their shard or whatever. But I'd like to know what's your comments about that, and what is LNR's position regarding this? Yes, Odin.
Well, I don't think it's written anywhere, like you said, that any big guild is mandatory to hold events for other guilds or other players or anything like that. I mean, I don't see where everyone feels that we should be obligated to provide something for you guys in game. I mean, we have enough people in the guild ourselves. We do things for ourselves. We do spawns. We do multiple things. I mean, for ourselves. We don't feel that we're obligated to provide something for yourself.
Yes, Gadget.
We do hold events, but not for the rest of the shard. If you're wanting an event, you can apply to LNR. That's the way I see it.
Yes, Vice.
I'm listening to this interview, and I have a few questions myself regarding, just that. I was kind of curious as to whether or not LNR, basically I'm getting the impression that LNR is kind of like the black sheep of Atlantic in terms of guild relations and everything. But this is just my observation. I don't even play on Atlantic, but I play on Chesapeake. But just from my observations, just listening to the interview and everything, it would be my guess that you guys are pretty much the black sheep guild on Atlantic. But my question is, with regards to that, if that is the case, would it be would it be helpful for LNR to maybe perhaps improve their guild relations with other guilds if you guys were perhaps to, include other guilds or the whole entire shard in your guild events? Like for example, you say there's no requirement or anything that says that you have to set up a guild event or any type of in-game event, but would it not be helpful for LNR in terms of public relations and guild relations with other guilds? Or does LNR want to be, pretty much want to remain, off to themselves? Go ahead, Odin.
Well, I mean, we are a champ spawn PvP raiding guild, and no one has never, ever liked, those type of guilds. I mean, whoever's getting raided is not going to like us. They instantly hate us, so there's no way to improve guild relations. Then we have no allies. We're not searching for allies, so we could honestly care less about what all these other guilds do on the shard. We just wish they'd spawn more, though.
The reason really I'm asking is basically I want to know, well, I think you kind of answered that in a way you feel that they're like larger guilds should not or do not have any kind of social responsibility, I guess, to the community, because it has kind of been always a tradition that larger guilds do organize stuff. So it was kind of interesting to see what LNR's standpoint is, and I think Viceroy did brush up on kind of like the next question that was coming with that, is that don't you feel that by basically focusing solely on your guild, you are somewhat alienating other guilds? Yes, absolutely.
Well, I feel, Hot posts that they're going to do a Harry for the shard. Well, Hot send DEI, basically what? That's 600 members. You'll probably have, 100 plus members on. How is that really doing anything for the shard? You're basically saying, hey, LNR, come fight us because there's really nobody else left. So we'll be fighting all three of you guys and hacks. There's nobody else really to come. Who you're putting it on basically for your own members, because, we could do that also. Be like, hey, well, we're going to, just not post it, and it's basically what it is. You guys are spawning a Harry for yourselves because, we would have to have, pretty much everybody on at the same time to combat against, you'll have 100 guys there, and, what's so public about that?
Yeah. No, actually, that specific event you're talking about was not meant as a shard event. It was really for Felucans. It was for all of us guilds that are currently active in Felucan. It was just, the same way we had been having the multiple guild wars. It was just another something of that type. It was not meant as a public event. It's what I'm referring to is more like what S did for a while there, doing those public hero wars, where absolutely everybody is invited, and the only people that get attacked are basically people that show any form of aggression the other participants in the Harry. Because we do our war with S, and when I got there, at some point I got totally ganked by the spawn, and I was rezzed by S members because this was a public Harry, and this is what I'm referring to. Something where you're basically inviting everyone. It's like one big party, and everybody's playing nice to everyone.
I don't really feel that was, a public event. That was just one of the S members pissed off at the other S members and decided to spawn all their oak skulls. That's really not a public. I mean, I would have personally no problem with going and saying, hey, we're going to spawn in a harrower for the shard if the shard was going to fight each other. But it would be pretty much stupid on my part. Why not just go spawn it for our guild and then get it done without announcing it, because you know you're going to have DEI, Sin, Hot, and then Hacks and everybody else is going to work with you guys to come in and crash us. That's not really, in my mind, a public event. We might as well go hold an Easter egg hunt or something. I would find that more of a public event than spawning a Harry and watch all 100 and 150 of you guys come in there and try to crash.
But that would be fine too. No, we never said it had to be a Harry. The idea of community event is just that it can be just about anything. Yes, Odin.
Yeah, in reference to us alienating a lot of the shard and the community and stuff, anyone who's PvP'd on Atlantic for more than 5 minutes will realize that the whole shard plays nothing but blue characters. And that's one of the big attractions to LNR, to play with some fellow Reds, and you can attack with no allies. You can attack anyone you see on your screen at any moment. There's no worries about allies, friends, or nothing. But everyone on this shard plays blues nonstop, 24/7. And what fun is that? I mean, you go to U-Gate, you got 30 blues standing around there, just chit-chatting like a AOL chat room.
Okay. Well, at least we do know what your position on this is. I am getting a question in IRC for you guys, and it's about wrong roof. I think on many shards, especially on Atlantic, but on many other shards, wrong roof has always been considered as the dueling spot. And it's basically whoever, regardless of what guild you're part of, you can just recall to wrong roof and have some clean 1 versus 1 dueling. And recently, LNR has been accused of ganking people there. And I'd like to know what you guys have to say about that. Go ahead, Odin.
Well, we've had run-ins with every guild on this shard, ganking us initially. We was holding true to that, but they all ganked us initially, so for the most part, we just kill them. And honestly, I don't know why they just don't take their blue characters to Trammel if they want to be safe in PvP. They don't really need to be at wrong roof and fail to do that.
Because then you can't duel with red. It's just been standard. So basically, people should expect to get ganked by LNR if they recall to wrong roof. Is that what you're saying? Yes, Gadget.
It's not like we sit on wrong roof and gang people as they come in. We go to there to duel just like every other guild. I'm sure it's happened 1 or 2 times where a fight broke out there, but every time I've been there, it hasn't been LNR that started it. Like, Hack started a few of them. I even saw Hot start a few of them, but we don't usually start the fights there.
Okay. There's something I wanted to go over with you regarding alliances. Like, you guys talk a lot about how you currently are the only guild that has absolutely no allies on the guild, but on the shard. But is this actually by choice or more because all your previous attempts failed? Go ahead, Gadget.
I'd say through experience we realized we really don't need any allies. It's just another guild we can't raid, more scrolls we can't take. We're better off without them, I think we decided.
Yes,
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I know that you remember the alliance that we were going to do with us, DEI, and Sin. But, on the last day of the alliance, Raph came back to you realizing that, hey, I had everything worked out. I know that you guys took polls and everything was for it. Your guild was for it, but Raph came to you and said, hey, I don't want to do this because, it would be bad for Hot, and pretty much put them out of everything that they were doing at the time. And you went ahead and did it just because, it would be better for, I hate to say it, but the higher-ups in your guild, because of, you guys not having to fight hot anymore, and instead of doing what your guild wanted you to do. And I know that there was a lot of upset members because I got a lot of friends in different guilds or whatnot that were extremely upset that you guys went ahead and went against what they were telling you to do to ally or friendship up back with hot, just because it was more convenient for I don't know, the higher ups or whatever, and that you guys got going on in your particular guild.
Well, I have to differ with you on that, because basically, as a GM, I pretty much know how it was all going down for our guild. Definitely, there were a large number of people that voted in favor of allying with LNR. Most of them because they thought there was no way we could mend the relationship with hot. And personally, I was always against allying with LNR. I mean, you guys have asked us so many times, and we've systematically turned it down. Not because I don't like you guys. I mean, you're cool enough. The problem is your recruiting policies. From day one, I told you I did not approve of your recruiting policies. I cannot be green to a guild that has, 10 new people every other day that I don't know of, and end up, having half my guild, res guild, in AFK at band. So that was...
Sorry.
It's okay. But anyway, that was the main reason that we did not want to ally with you guys. I mean, it took us, almost like a month and a half, you guys were waiting for us to give you an answer, and we couldn't, because we really didn't want to. And
no. Well, see, the problem is you really didn't want to. Your guild wanted to, but the big problem was because of you being a well-known figure, you didn't want to be associated with Golrath, who was currently in our guild at the time. Had nothing to do with recruitment processes, because I explained it to you. If there was any problems with anything, they would be punished, removed, whatever at the time. But because of your affiliation with TradeSpot, broker, whatever in the heck you do, is because you didn't want to do it. It had nothing to do with we were systematically turned down. We were systematically accepted. Thallium even wanted to do it. It was just had to do with you and you not wanting to because of Golrath.
Again, this is straying from the original interview, but that was not the case. And, we could go on and on till we're blue in the face, but Golrath already knew where I stood on that, and he was willing to resign from your guild over this. But, and yeah, it was a problem for me as a broker to be associated by, to someone who is known as a scammer and a hacker. But that was not the main reason. I mean, I knew that people knew me enough not to make an issue, like such a huge issue out of it. But you do have crappy recruiting policies. I'm sorry. I just can't go green to just anyone. Yes, gotcha.
I think the point here is, we didn't ally. It worked out good for us. We're not complaining now. I don't know if you guys are, but we get to raid your spawns, take your crap, all the good stuff.
Well, see, the recruitment process is... I know of... You say that, your recruitment process is so much different than ours. I know a couple players just from LNR that's jumped between Sen, DEI, and Hot, all in the same month. They've guild jumped, and if I don't understand, I know for a fact that if I make a character and mess with it more than a week or two, not that I would, I could get in all three of your guys' guilds. It's not that complicated. You act like it's this big, giant, process or whatever, and it's really not. I don't understand why you keep running it in the ground that we recruit everybody. They go to the website, they put in an application, we contact them, we talk to them. If we have any problems from them, we boot them out. It's basically all it is. If we know the people, we take a little background check on them. If they're not good for us, no, everybody doesn't get into LNR. It's the people that we select. a whole bunch of applications that are declined all the time, and that's not the case. Like, I don't understand why that's continuously brought up as an issue, that we just let everybody in the guild. That's not the case at all, and anybody that has dealt with LNR before knows this.
Actually, I don't think it's an issue per se. I mean, it is your guild. It might be an issue for people that might consider allying you, but it's your rules and you guys run things the way you want, but you have to understand that not everybody agrees with this. I'm going to take one last comment on the whole alliance thing, but no, just to tell you that we're happy to, because everybody, I think, wants to have some fighting going on. And like I said earlier, this is one of the reasons that LNR, Sin and Hot and DI are not re-allied at the moment, because it has helped a lot of other smaller guilds to thrive and give a lot more activity going on the Shard and more life to Fel. So we are happy with the way things are currently running. Yes, Odin, the last comment, and then I'm moving on to the next question.
See, that's why a lot of people on the outside don't realize how LNR has become so big and started to run the Shard. Is the way we distribute the wealth. The past guilds that were in charge and powerful and everything was so top-heavy. Very few people got the wealth out of everything. Whereas LNR, everything's distributed evenly between all active members. We have giveaways. Everyone wins. Compared to past guilds on the Shard.
Well, actually, that was one of the questions I wanted to get to. What is your wealth distribution system? And if I can just comment, being one of the GMs of one of these guilds, you should not comment on our wealth distribution system unless you know about it. I think DI was probably one of the first guilds to really bend over backwards to try and make the wealth distribution as fair as possible to everyone. So unless you've been in our guild, you cannot really comment about us keeping the wealth for the higher ups, because it's really not the case. But I definitely want you guys to tell us about how you proceed with the scroll distribution and wealth distribution. Go ahead, Odin.
For every spawn you do, we assign 2 points. Then at the end of the week, for every spawn you've done, you get 2 points. Then for our raids, people to go actually actively scout spawns to raid, you get an additional 3 points. That's 5 points for finding a spawn to raid and raiding it. Now, at the end of the week, we keep all our 20s. All 20s get turned in and locked down in the castle. Then at the end of the week, we have an auction site on our website where people bid with their points. And, we have upwards of, 60, 70, 80, plus 20 scrolls to distribute between all our active members each week. Well, that's not even including stat scrolls. Then we have supplies. We have a resource house that all active members have free use of band-aids, potions, regs, bolts, arrows, everything they need to PvP. It's provided for them by the guild. Then we also have a Hat of the Mad Guy giveaway going on right at the moment, giving away to an active member.
Yes, Gadget.
Yeah, another thing. We turn in all the 20s, but all the 15s we throw in a vendor to raise the money for the whatever points for like gold, other things that you can use your points on. I also like to mention Selena does a lot of work on that crap, so kudos to her.
One question I have about this, and this is just hearsay, so I don't know if it's factual or not, but okay, you guys do auctions with these points, which, by the way, I think is a very cool system, but though I do have issues about the fact that people have to turn in their 20s, because it kind of got to suck, especially if you do a lot of spawns and get a lot of 20s. But the word I got was that people can actually buy points. Is that true? Yes, Odin.
That was initially put into the system because we used it from another champ spawn guild on another shard, but it's never really been activated to where we've done it. I guess people can do it, but no one's actually done it.
Okay, because I have to say I would find it very disturbing if you have this person that's bending over backwards getting all 20s in, and then somebody waltz in and buys a few points and then end up buying a bunch of 120 majory and making a killing off of them. Yes, Viceroy, you have a comment you want to make?
Yeah, I just want to quickly point out, I like, discussing stuff like this, and rather than having
in God knows where. All right, Obbs, go ahead.
Oh, I would like to say it equals out because the people that turn into 20s, all the time aren't going to get the 20s. So if you turn into 20s, say you get like a 20 Discord, and the next person gets like a 20, say like swords or resist or something like that, then it equals out because you still have a chance of getting them scrolls at the end of the week at the auction.
Yeah, but depending on how you actually do the whole thing, one person can be the one working the spawns all the time, and then you have this other person that never comes to your spawns but goes to raid other people's spawns and get a bunch of points there and still end up being the one getting all the 20s. So I don't know about that. Yes, Odin.
That's one thing that a lot of guilds on Atlantic don't understand, how we're doing so many spawns, is because we play reds to protect the spawn and get all 12 scrolls. See, these other guilds, they all got to play blues and rush in, try to get the scrolls, and we raid them and take it over. The reds are just as important as spawn as the blues are killing the champ, and it's all about trust. If you can't trust someone in your guild to turn into 20 and everyone wins, they shouldn't be in your guild.
Yes, I understand that. That's not what I'm saying, though. Based from what I understand from your system, people get points for doing spawns, and people get points for raiding spawns. So if I'm like a hardcore PvPer, which everybody knows I'm not, but if I'm a hardcore PvPer and all I want to do is raid people and kill people, then I can spend my entire time just waltzing around crashing spawns left and right. Yet my guildies are doing spawns 24/7, and I end up getting more points than them because it's a lot faster raiding a spawn than it is working a spawn. So I can raid 4 or 5 spawns in like, I don't know, an hour, whereas they only did 2 spawns in that same hour, and then I end up getting 3 times the point they did, and they did more work, and they're the ones that got the 20s from the spawns they did. And yet I end up buying all the 20s, so how is that cool for me? Yes, Gadget.
Well, we never really had a problem with that because all the other guilds on Atlantic aren't very capable these days of pulling off 3 or 4 spawns an hour.
Fair enough. Yes, Odin?
Well, what you're forgetting to realize is when we raid a spawn, we're getting 12 scrolls from that raid too. We sit back, you do all the work, and we raid, and we accomplish it, and we get the scrolls the same as we was doing a spawn. We got a lot of guys who've never done a champ spawn before. It's a whole new game, it's a whole new play set that they've never done before, and they enjoy doing spawns, but we also enjoy raiding spawns also. And it's our point system are based on how many scrolls we pull from that spawn, whether you get the full points or you get half points on the raid. So for a raid to be successful and get your points, you've got to be successful. Just running around by yourself and crashing a spawn is not getting points. It's got to be successful and get all the scrolls for it to be successful. I mean, you can PvP all day and say, hey, I crashed a spawn, but did you get any scrolls from it? Did you get all 12, 6 protections, 6 from hitting the champ scrolls? It's just not random people running around just casting e-bolts and flame strikes on people that they see.
Okay. Well, that's a lot better than. I would still have a heck of a hard time having to turn in my 120 majory, but if it works, then more power to you guys. Yes, Gadget.
Well, if you're doing the spawns, if you're pulling your weight and you're contributing 320s a day, like 320s a day, you probably did 11 spawns that day. With those 22 points, you might get way better scrolls than you turned in.
Yeah, it's possible. Now, moving on to a different question. How do you guys feel about the current chimp spawn system? Do you think it's just like cool the way it is, or do you want to see some changes to it? And also, how do you feel about the new AI on the monsters? Yes, Odin.
I think the spruce up Fell a lot and get more action going. They should add a minor artifact system to all Fell dungeons. That would, unique artifacts, new ones, to get more people there, to get more PvP action away from people's houses and gates and such. That would be an idea to really add excitement to the game.
But do you think that new items should be added, or are we all already sick and tired of all the new items? Or should they add more power scrolls, or should they, change the loot or whatever?
Well, as much as I'd like to have a 120 cooking power scroll, I don't see much function in it in the game, really. So, the power scrolls, there's not much they can add to it. They'd have to add new artifacts. And you got to remember, whatever they put in the game, if it's new, there's a huge demand for it. Even if it's for 5-6 weeks, then they can switch something out. That's something they don't do enough of. They don't switch things out enough to keep the people interested in it. Things get too boring.
Well, as I was telling you guys earlier, actually before the interview started, I have been spending quite a bit of time on the beta, and they have like a crap load of new quests that are coming in with the next expansion, and a ridiculous amount of new items, armor, artifacts, and blah blah blah. Now, your guild has pretty big numbers, and not necessarily the best PvPers, but numbers do hurt. How do you think the new expansion is going to affect your guild and the activity level? Go ahead, Odin.
I don't really think it's fair, really, to say that we don't have the best PvPers, because I'd put our top 10 PvPers against any 10 on the shard to say that. And as far as the new expansion goes and all these new quests and stuff, I don't know about everyone else, but I'm sure most of us are going to zerg the hell out of those new quests for a couple of days.
Yes,
Yeah, just to touch on what Odin said, I don't really understand, how you can. Atlantic has to do with complete field fighting. Like the dueling, I don't really understand how one could say that they're a better PvPer than the other. If you're not a good field fighter, it doesn't make a difference. You might have one good field fighter to the other guild's one good field fighter, but if they got better guys to go with it, then I think that everybody's valuable in the guild, no matter who they are.
Oh, I don't question that. I don't think anybody questioned the value of every single member. But to me, being a good field fighter is not necessarily being a good ganker. When I say best PvPer, I mean probably the guy that can kick some serious butt all by himself. There's quite a few people.
But when is that the case? When are you ever going to be anywhere, oh yeah, well, this guy can duel for 4 hours straight? I know a lot of people that are good, very good duelers, but, if they come out and fight us at a Harry or anything, they're not worth, nothing.
No, I'm not talking about dueling. I'm talking about, a single guy that can take out 10 people by himself.
Yeah, but that was back in the Archang days when he used to protect. That was back in, I'll leave that for another question, but that was back in the Archang days when he could protect. It's a little more balanced now, where I don't really think that there's any one guy that's going to be able to take out 5, 10 guys, the way that things are set up.
Well, actually, it's still happening, and I will not comment whether, scripting is involved or if it's just like pure skill. But some people really do kick ass out there, and
who?
Well, I can think of quite a few. Avron is pretty brutal. Super Matt kicks some serious butt. Toy Machine will do serious number on a lot of people.
That's anybody can be good though if they just run around like them guys. Have you ever fought one of them guys? You could run all the way across UO fighting them guys. if that's the case, I'm the best PvPer in the game because nobody would never ever kill me if I didn't want them to because I just run away from them and they never catch me because I have hiding. That doesn't make you any good. Like them guys, they run away, they attack you, they run away, they attack you. The only way they kill you if you're standing still.
Well, not really. If you're a good PvPer, you know when to move and when to stay put. But at the end of the day, if you have like only 2 of them coming in and wiping out 10 plus people, that says a lot.
Yeah, maybe in your guild that might be the case, but I don't see that happening. That hasn't happened to us. I know.
It has, but that's another debate altogether. But it's happened. It has.
When have you been? When I personally don't ever see you in the game, nor nevertheless hanging out at one of our champ spawns. When has that happened anytime recently to any of us anywhere?
Actually, I don't see you either. I see your brother and Odin plenty, but like I said, that's another debate altogether. But that really was not the question because we're kind of like really straying here on the topic. But the question really was about whether or not you guys think the expansion is going to hurt your guild. Because we could go on and on about how we have the best PvPers, you have the best PvPers, this other guild has the best PvPers. I don't think anyone would ever agree on any of this, but Gadget's been waiting forever to say something. Go ahead, Gadget.
Yeah, to get to the actual question, I don't think that the new expansion is going to affect our guild any more than any other guild, because, like, who's going to want to go to those new places? It's not Fel. We're a Fel-based guild. People will get their quests, get their crap, sell it, and be back to Fel before you know it.
It will be interesting to see, and especially how the new skills will affect the every guild, and especially PvP. Yes, Viceroy.
Yes, I want to quickly remind everybody out there who's listening in or just now tuning in that they can join us over at Yale Radio Channel on the IRC.
Go ahead.
He wasn't done talking.
Yeah, for some odd reason, I don't think you're hearing me, but... Viceroy, can you hear me?
Viceroy, you interrupted him.
I'm not hearing him. I didn't hear him at all either.
Hold on, can you guys hear me now?
I don't think he's connecting to Canada.
I can hear you. I don't think they can hear you, Viceroy.
Oh, well,
right.
No, I'm not hearing him at all.
Wow. What I wanted to quickly say before I get cut off again, basically I just want to say, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just quickly try to get this in here.
So, for now, Odin, do you have something to say? We'll get back to Viceroy once he figures out what's going on.
Yeah, I think looking forward to the new expansion, the only way it's really going to change our guild in any way is just hopefully it brings more people to the game so we can recruit them up and help Zerg,
Right. The almighty Zerg. And question for you, I think it's one of the question of the day lately, at least on Atlantic. I'm sure it's the same on every other show. How do you feel about the lovely stealth archers? And how many do you guys really do have? Because everybody's throwing figures, but we all know what the numbers are, especially when people start talking about Zerg guilds. Everybody suddenly have like 20,000 people in their guild. But yeah, so how many stealth archers or hide archers? Because the fact that they don't have stealth doesn't change what they're really about. So how many do you have, and what do you guys think about it? Gadget, go ahead.
First of all, I gotta say this is a PG-13 show, so I'm not going to talk about how much I like stealth archers. Second, I don't think we even have that many stealth archers. Maybe 4 or 5 I see on a regular basis.
Yeah, the only ones I really see active anymore is Rick James and TJ. Maybe I'm missing a few others. Maybe Citron around once in a while. Sharpshooter.
So what do you think about them? Are you like not in favor of that template?
Oh, it's an awesome template. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to hide behind an alliance or a guild of 300 or 400 people. They just log on for an hour or two a day and they want to PvP, but they can't really do it by themselves because they're not that talented on a mage or a dexter. And it's an awesome template. You got to have a griefer's mindset to be able to stealth around and grief people by res killing them, dismounting them when they're not expecting it. You get that last hit. It's a whole griefer's mindset that a lot of people, the idea completely escapes them because they've never played that type of template. I mean, personally, I think it's fun as hell. I mean, I haven't played mine in a long time, but a lot of people just, they play by themselves. They're UO hermits, and it's a great template for them to play in PvP and really upset a lot of people. And the more people complain about them, it just, every time someone hears about, hey, I hate that template, some griefer or someone out there wants to have some fun or, upset some other people, they're going to say, hey, I'm going to make one of those and do it. So the more people feed their egos, the more there's going to be of them.
Yes, Viceroy.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me now?
Yay.
All right, thank God. What I was pretty much want to say real quick, use this opportunity to promote your guild, tell all the good aspects, and, basically you promote yourselves out there to the community, tell what's so special about LNR and, what makes your guild unique. Kind of steer away from the debates. Also, for all the people out there who are just now joining us on UO Radio, I want to let them know that they can join us over in UO Radio channel on the RC Stratix Network. Just put in the # UO Radio, and you can join us in the RC chat and ask your questions there. All right, I'm done.
Odin, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think for the first thing any person needs to know if they're looking to join LNR or thinking about joining, you got to have a good sense of humor because I think, 2 weeks ago we had someone join. I think we scared them off as soon as they got TeamSpeak because we was cracking jokes and just they thought we was all really weird. I mean, I know a lot of people out there on message boards and stuff think we're all weird and we're stupid and stuff, but really you got to have a sense of humor. It's the first thing you got to have because we have a lot of people that are really funny in the guild.
Another question I have for you guys, and I guess I will aim it especially at Odin because, I mean, you and I bicker a lot in game. Though I do not hate you personally. I don't really know you all that well either, but anyway. I was wondering if your guild has any official policy as far as the insurance bug is concerned because, I did post on the hot boards at one point about how I thought it was really, really cool, the fact that you had returned all the items to I believe it was even one of my own guildmates that got insure bugged and lost a bunch of artifacts, including the Hat of the Magi, and I was rather blown away that you returned it. And so I was wondering, does LNR has an official guild policy regarding people getting hit by insurance bug, or is it left to people's own conscience? Yes, Odin.
I'm not really sure what the official stance is. I mean, I know it's, if you hear about it, give their stuff back, but it's all, more or less up to the individual. And, it all comes back to you a lot of times you go out and you kill a script miner or some random noob out there and he's got crap on, he wasn't insurance bugged, he just wasn't smart enough to insure the stuff. And now that they've implemented that new insurance toggle to where, you turn it off, you got to okay it, I think that's done away with a lot of the so-called insurance bug thing happening. I think a lot of it is just people out vendor shopping, use all their gold up on their character, then claim they were, insurance bugged and stuff.
Well, yeah, there is, that does happen sometimes, but there really is an insurance bug where only a single item or a couple of items will just drop to your body and they're still insured too on your body and you're like, whoa. But, alright, I guess that answers my question. Yes, Gadget.
I don't even think there's really a point in having an insurance bug policy, because if you're walking along and someone dies in front of you with the Orny, Hat of the Magi, Armor of Fortune, even if your guild says turn it back, there's a lot of people out there who are going to say, 100 mil, I'm out of here.
Yeah, but as a guild, like personally, we do have a policy about that, and I'm kind of known to be Miss Goody Two Shoes, and in a way also fairly harsh about certain things. I know personally I'd rather lose a guild member than have somebody that puts greed over pixels above, what's right. I have booted people from my guild because they took advantage of an insurance bot. It's one thing when somebody is dumb enough to be out there with not enough insurance money. You lose your stuff, hey, deal with it. But when clearly it was the insurance bug, I think you should do the right thing and return it. But that's just our policy. Yes, gotcha.
Well, you can have the policy all you want, but I'm willing to bet 3/4 of your guild, 3/4 of the players in UO, if they stumble upon all that, would just keep it for themselves. They'd see it as being better than being in your guild. Think how long it would take to make $100 million off of scrolls. Not to say I'm a heartless bastard, I'd probably give it back.
Well, you'd be surprised how quick you can make that money. You guys should know, probably. I mean, you're one of the few guilds that is still quite active in Felucca, and you make a hell of a lot of money selling scrolls. So, I don't know. It's you can want to hold on to pixels even if it's worth 100 million. But considering you could make that same amount in just a couple of months, maybe less if you're lucky, and get those 120s often, then I don't know. Just my point of view on it. And I have a question here for you guys from Von Swiftar, who also says hi. He wants to know if you have any official PvP training and what you focus on when you train your guildmates. Yes, Gadget.
It's just like swimming. There's no better way to learn than jumping right into it. I think most of our players just learn. We take them to a chance fund. You learn or you die, pretty much. You give them pointers and crap like that, but there's no sessions or any seminars we hold like that. We just kick them off the end and see how they swim, give them some pointers.
Yes, Odin.
Well, there's a lot of people that PvP and spar with each other nonstop all day, 24/7. So if someone was looking to, train that way by dueling other members, that's going on 24/7 within the guild. But like Gadget said, the best way to learn is just go out there and learn from your mistakes. That's the best way to do anything, really.
Yes, Vice.
I have a question actually here for you guys, and I'm kind of curious because it's here in the IRC chat. And somebody asks us, IRC chat, as to, how did your guild grow so rapidly in just a few months when it took other guilds on Atlantic like years to grow to their current size? Could someone possibly from LNR answer that question for us, Odin?
It's a lot about having the right mindset. Like, we used to get crashed nonstop, and if you watch a lot of guilds when we crash them, once they die, they just tie them at the altar, waiting for the gate to come up to go to the star room. They accept defeat, and they just move on, go back and get res somewhere. Whereas LNR, when we had 5 or 6 people out, that was a big turn up. Having 5 or 6 people in game, we'd go out, get crashed, and we'd immediately look for a place to get res so we can come in and put up another fight. And it's a lot about having the right mindset. There's a lot of guilds out there that have enough members, but just don't have the right mindset to keep, they give up too easy.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Chico.
No, it's just that, I'm receiving, some questions. Some of them, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to ask these because they come across more as flaming than anything else. And, I'm trying to keep this clean. But Rathman here wants to know, this is not coming from me, okay? So don't shoot the messenger. He just wants to know, why did you guys steal their guild rules? Odin?
That's really still up in debate, really. I mean, it's not word for word. I mean, I think that's really getting too, reading into the fine print on those, because every guild, the rules are pretty much the same, and he's been going on and on about that for a few weeks now, and I just, I'd have got over a long time ago. It was just guild rules on a message board.
Well, what's to say that I haven't personally looked at his, but what's to say that he didn't steal ours? Our guild's actually older than Hot's, so Rathman stole ours. And another comment, kind of off topic, he keeps ICQing me saying we sound like morons. I don't understand why he won't do his own interview and why he's making his guildies do it.
I'll comment when Rathman answers how tall he actually is.
Oh, come on now, guys. Play night. Yes, Vice.
Basically, I'm just kind of curious, as to, basically you guys are basically saying that, oh my goodness, I just went blank. Forget it.
Oh, it's all right. But yeah, I'd like to know, if Raph wants that, for all I'm concerned, he stole our guild rules because LNR is actually an older guild than what Hot is. So he stole our rules, and he's ICQing me, telling me we sound like morons, but yet he won't even do the interview. He's having not even, who knows who's doing his interview for him, because he won't even log on.
Yes, Vice.
All right, I just remember what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Whenever I'm looking through multitasking, I kind of forget what I was going to say. But what I was going to say, please don't let it happen again. What I was going to say is basically somebody saying, you're stealing guild rules from another guild and everything. The way I see it, me personally, if it worked and it proved to be successful and it worked for one guild, why not use it for another guild? I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, I think it's kind of childish for anybody to sit here and say, oh, you stole our guild rules. Me personally, if I see something that works, particular tactics or something that works for one guild, I mean, I'm going to use it for my guild. I mean, I don't see why anybody should have to ask for permission. I mean, yeah, it takes away from the unique aspect of any guild, but I just think it's kind of kind of stupid in a way to have an argument over guild rules. I mean, if it works, why not use it? I mean, that's my whole take on that.
Well, I wouldn't. I kind of tend to understand and agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I think every guild should make their own rules. That's why we're different guilds. Otherwise, might as well just be one big fat guild. And if you are going to take somebody else's rules or whatnot, then I think you should acknowledge that you took it from somebody else and not try to take credit for something that you didn't do yourself. But that's just my take on it. Yes,
Yeah, since Raph stole our guild rules, I'd like for him to please delete them from his, so that, I don't want him having our guild rules.
Let's not try to get in personal attacks.
Yeah, yes, Odin.
Oh, you said no personal attacks.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Come on now, we're trying to make a good image for you guys.
Well, Rathman's exact quote earlier this week was he would rather die than tune into this radio broadcast, but at the same time he's tuned in out there somewhere. So, I mean, if he died, I'd like to have the funeral home so I can send flowers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, as you can see, there is so much love between all these guilds. Yes, Gadget.
I'll send some pansies too.
Alright, now moving on, how do you guys feel about the current state of PvP? And I do not mean the guild, I just mean PvP as a whole, on our shard, and, with the current bugs as everybody talk about, and, is there anything you would like seeing change, or, just basically, is there anything we can do to improve PvP as we currently have it? Yes.
As far as the state of PvP, it's just been like Ultima Online over all these years. You got to either learn to adapt or quit or just, go on a message board and bitch about it 24/7 like a lot of guys do. And as far as the state of PvP on Atlantic, I mean, if you don't see an LNR tag or a hacks tag, it's going to be a blue. And if you're on a blue, you can just sit there and, chit-chat back and forth and do it all day. I mean, I've seen many times people, guilds crash each other on blues and they just sit there at the altar for 2 hours hoping that something spawn comes in close enough so they can accidentally auto-defend and kill it so they can work the spawn up. That's the state of affairs of PvP on Atlantic. It's just a bunch of blues.
Well, in a way, I tend to agree with that, but at the same time, right now, if you try to PvP on Atlantic with your red, you have to have a hell of a lot of other reds with you. Otherwise, it's insta-gank because you basically walk into, it's like a suicide mission if you're the only red around. Yes, Odin.
That's the exactly type of mindset that we really don't look for in an LNR member, though. I mean, a lot of our reds, that's why they play reds, where they get attacked, they can kill on sight, they can kill anyone, there's no allies. I mean, that's just a blue tramel type of thinking. That's the reason a lot of guilds have declined and don't take off like LNR did.
I'm not going to go there because I could give a bunch of reasons why I think LNR took off the way it did, but we kind of went over that already. But
probably our Haven Bank mass recruiting.
Something like that. But keeping it clean, we actually also highly encourage our people to play their reds, but I'm not going to make it a rule for people to play their reds. And it is true that if you're the only red around in the middle of a bunch of blues, who do you think people are going to attack first? Not the blues, the red. Take them out, and then you take out the other people. So I can understand why a lot of people don't do it. And, some people started playing the reds originally in U, and they ended up being sitting ducks because everyone and their brother were playing their blues in U. So at some point you have to go like, okay, what do I do? Do I go with my red and just get my butt handed to me systematically, or do I, come with my blue and actually have a chance of doing some damage? Go ahead, Odin.
That's a huge misconception that people use the word PvP in like the U gate area. I mean, if you can see a guard zone or a house on your screen, that's not really PvPing. I mean, that's where a lot of people go bad and turn sour on PvPing because they go to U gate, they turn gray, get ganked. They go down to red, they get ganked. I mean, that's no fun. I don't see how people can do that nonstop 24/7. If people would get out in the field and try to do things, either you die or you live, and do it that way, they'd have a lot more fun.
That's why I no longer go to U gate, because I thought it was just plain retarded. Question for you. A few of the guilds have been going the factions way. Is LNR planning on having a faction division, or do you even have one already? Yes, gotcha.
We did some factions in the past, probably a couple months ago. Took off for a little bit. We were Council Mages. Didn't last too long, though. No one really knew it was LNR because we were under the tag comm. And we just realized that there's no reward to factions. There's no point in doing it, so we stopped and got out of that.
Yes, Odin.
I'm not sure what the exact timer is on the hold the sigils and for the towns, but the only thing I really remember is just sitting around for hours and hours waiting for someone to attack us. Then the last 10 minutes, they'd send some stealther in to steal from us, and that's really no fun, really.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just I'm receiving a bunch of ICQs and sorting through them all at the same time, and just one of your guildmates that was commenting about. Well, actually, I'm just gonna read what he said. Jim Angel from LNR, and I just wanted to say comment on guild. I had a problem where I took a high-end scroll and went to sell it. Problem arose, I shouldn't have taken it to sell, and I offered it back. And everyone settled calmly. I think that's a good show of why our guild is very large, because we get along even if problem arises. So that was his comment.
Yeah, I believe Jim's a guy that just joined this week, so he might have been completely clear on the rules and what he was supposed to have done, really. But him giving it back and stuff, correcting the wrong, says a lot about him also. And we all make mistakes.
There's just like some really heated debates going on in IRC. People, you all crack me up. Yes, Vice, go ahead.
I just got a question about those policies and stuff. Loot distribution and stuff like that. Basically, whenever you guys, see, I'm not too much of a PvPer since AOS and everything, but I'm just kind of curious how the loot distribution works. I mean, considering the fact you really don't have no real way of telling who got what or anything at all. And how do you go about, checking to make sure everybody's being honest with you about it? I mean, how do you go about stuff like that? And if a person isn't being honest with you, what do you typically do in y'all's guild? Odin?
Well, we've actually caught some members stealing scrolls, and actually one of the guys we kicked out for stealing is in DEI, Sakara's guild at this moment. But what we do, we have a council member or the guild master. He protects the spawns. That's 6 scrolls there. Then at some place where we arrange to meet people at, usually away from a bank, you don't give them a chance to go to their bank box or to their house. You account for all the other 6 scrolls. That way they're completely accounted for. And if problems arise, if scrolls are missing, you sort of piece it together. You bring a thief in to snoop packs and stuff. But eventually over time people get caught that do it.
And then they're booted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Little trust goes a long way.
I mean, it's pretty stupid because the wealth is, the money that you can make by doing the champ spawns and actually doing them right and turning in your stuff way outweighs the, you stealing one scroll. And then, you can see, you look on TradeSpot, you look at the bank, and you can see who's selling what, so it's not too big of a mystery, and more than likely they get caught, and that screws, they're not going to get back into the guild if they get caught stealing scrolls.
Odin?
Yeah, like Alps is saying, I forgot what I was going to say now. But if say you get a 20 major, that's 10, 12 millionaire you get at a spawn. You're like, wow, I got that, and you want to keep it. You may win that scroll at that time, but we had a guy do that 2 or 3 weeks ago, kept the scroll, and he just thought it was the best thing in the world that he got that 20 major. Well, he doesn't realize though, within a week to 10 days, he'd have made that back plus more by just spawning with us. It was just short-term greed and short-sightedness that a lot of people just can't comprehend. In the long run, you make out better.
Yeah. Sakara?
Yeah. Yes. I'm just getting a question here. And I was debating whether to ask it or not. It was basically a question regarding that 4 guild war we had a couple of months ago now, I think, and the question that keeps recurring is, why did LNR leave the war after you lost to us instead of continuing and fighting the remaining guilds? Yes, Owen.
It wasn't really fair. Because after you guys defeated us, got to 100 kills first, we all went to decide that they would attack Hot. When we got there, we wasn't green or was orange to each other because we was in war. And we was all there at Hot's base getting ready to attack him. That wouldn't be much fair to Hot to have to fight both of us. Then as you were there was parafields, poison fields, EVs everywhere. And seeing that we weren't orange, we were still being attacked by each other's guilds. So we just thought it was best just to leave the field completely and leave it up to guilds that were still in it that hadn't been defeated yet by someone else.
Yeah, but that was not the purpose of the war at the start. Originally, the war was meant for everyone to go after each other guild, and you defeat one, you move on to the next, you defeat one, you move on to the next, and why change the rules halfway through? Yes, I would.
Well, it sounded good, planned that way, but you're missing the point, though, is that when DEI and LNR, when our war was over, we were still in the field, and we were still killing each other. Our field effects, we were still flagged on half each other. We were interfering more with each other than trying to, go on for other wars.
it just meant you had to be more careful about how you handled it. I know that because of your reds, I stopped casting energy vortexes, or vortices, however you pronounce that in English. Sorry, but I was also careful about where I casted fields and whatnot. I mean, you just kind of need to adapt. Yes, Odin.
But that just took completely away from your scheme, though. What your plan that had worked with us, you wasn't able to do that for the other guilds. Then if, say, someone, would have lost, they would have said, well, we had two guilds fighting at the same time, because then eventually it had just been one guild fighting the other four guilds, and they'd been completely outnumbered, and they'd been in their base. We waited for them to pop out so we all cast a flame strike on them. It wouldn't have been no fun. I think it progressed and finished a lot funner for the remaining guilds that after we left.
There is still regarding guild wars and whatnot, there's a couple of guilds that are asking, about some challenges that have been put up to you guys, and that apparently you have either not accepted yet or declined, or they just haven't really gotten a clear answer from you about it. And I kind of recall reading about it too on the hot boards, where I think it was originally with Raffman that you had discussed this, about putting your top 10 PvPers versus their own top 10 PvPers. And then I think Raffman said, no, we're going to put our top 5 against your top 10. And, the usual pissing contest. But that, there was basically no actual response from you guys. And apparently there's other guilds that, one in particular that's itching to have his name mentioned on the radio. I just don't want to give him the satisfaction. But anyway, there are other guilds that would be interested in issuing the same challenge to you, putting their top 10 versus your top 10. And, how do you guys respond to that? Yes, Odin.
Well, Raph, whenever he initially done it in Blind Fury or whatever rage roid he was on at that time, or just being stupid, he said his top 10 members could be our top 10 members at any time. So one of our guys posted on the LNR site where he had read this, and we accepted it. So then he reads our message board and says that. But now, after he looked back, time to reflect on it, he don't have 10 PvPers. He may have 3, and he has, Scratch and 3 Tamers. He can't field 10 PvPers, so now he wants to change his initial rules to just be 5 people. I mean, he's the one that brought the 10 versus 10 up. I don't know why he's backing out of 10 versus 10 now. I mean, it's sort of, lame of him, really. Lame.
Well, actually, you would think you would jump on the opportunity because he's actually wanting to still do that fight, but instead of having 10 versus 10, he's saying 5 versus 10. And just for the record, I think he could easily round up 10 people. I mean, at the war, they had about 20 people, maybe more. So I don't think he would have a problem coming up with 10 people, but he's actually offering you 5 versus 10. 10 of yours versus their 5. So how would that not be even more profitable to you? It's like, I mean, granted, if you get defeated, then it's kind of embarrassing, but, if you whoop their butt, then again, they would probably have the excuse, well, you had double the numbers, but anyway.
You're misunderstanding. It's not 10 versus 10. It's top 10 players versus top 10 players, one at a time, dueling, one player versus one player. But their top 10 versus our top. It's not a big 10 versus 10 field battle. It's just dueling, one versus one. Their top 10 against our top 10 duelers.
Oh, I see. So basically, they would have only 5 people fighting your 10, and so each of the 5 would go against 2.
No, he said 10. He originally said he has 10 members right now in the stone, active, that can beat our top 10 players every time. So he needs to, but now he realizes he's got to fall back on tamers or people casting E-fields and, fire elementals, which is not allowed in the duel anyways, any common duel, that he's got to fall back on some of his weak members. He can't field 10 honest PvPers. So now he's wanting to do 5 after he looks back on it.
I see. I guess you guys will need to discuss further how you want to go about it. But yeah, there are other guilds out there who apparently are interested in going 10 versus 10. So we'll see. I'm sorry. It's just like I'm talking with you guys, and at the same time keeping an eye on the on IRC, and it's just like, oh God, people. It kind of reminds me of the forums where it's just a never-ending pissing contest that never gets anywhere. So I'm wondering why people keep wasting so much energy. But JC seems to be saying 10 LNR versus 5 hot, and it would be like an all-out brawl. I might have that wrong, but that's kind of what I'm understanding. Yes, Odin.
That's something we're not really interested in. We do that every day, out in the field, 10 versus 5 or 5 versus 5 or 10. He said his top 10 duelers, 1 versus 1 against our top 10, and they would win every time. That's what he originally said. I got, the quotes on the boards there. I don't know why he's trying to back out of it, change rules, whatever he's wanting to do now. He said it. He's once, has got to back out of it.
Okay. Well, our show is actually coming pretty close to an end. So let me see if there's any non-pissing contest questions to be asked. If not, I'm going to ask you guys if you want to... wait, I think Viceroy wants to say something. Go ahead, Vice.
Yeah, I actually got a question for you guys. I want to ask you guys, where do you, as a guild, see yourself a year or two from now? Do you see yourself as just one big guild as you are now, or do you see yourself getting bigger, or what?
I can't believe you just stole my question. That was my closing question, you little...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought maybe you just overlooked it.
No, I wanted to see if there were any more questions that needed to be asked, like real questions, and not the I pwn you and no, I'm leader and blah blah blah. But
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, actually there is one question I do want to ask before we get to the where do you see yourselves in the closing statements, and it's about trash talking. And this is not really specifically aimed at LNR, and that's really more of a general question, because it seems like whenever we talk about Felucca, trash talking is just unavoidable. And I'm like, what the heck is up with that? Do you guys have any kind of policies regarding trash talking, or is it just like, guys, do whatever you want, we're in foul, so whatever goes, goes? Yes, Odin.
Yeah, we require all new members, if they're going to PvP, to have at least 2 trash-talking macros to be able to find each other on map. That's what auto maps are great about. Even if you didn't kill someone, you can run and find a dead body and talk trash on you. And if you got them on macros, it's easier to do. So we require all new members to make 2 trash talk macros.
Jeremy.
Are you serious?
No, he's got to be kidding.
No, that's
No,
not.
I hope so.
You don't have 2 trash talk macros. You're not getting an LNR. It's just fine.
That's my...
Ew. Yeah, Odin, go ahead. Keep traumatizing me. I can just take more. Go right ahead.
That's what's... I'm really not too much into trash talking or message board wars. I try to refrain from it and try to avoid it, because it's, for the young kids and stuff. But it goes on. It's, it's a PvP game. People are attacking each other. That's what adds a lot of fun to it. I really don't see what people really get out of it, but it's going to happen.
Well, I have to say that you're not exactly a saint on the forums. You tore into me a few times. Well, I know I'm lovable and huggable and irresistible, but jeez, you don't have to be this brutal. I'm delicate. Yes, Gadget.
I don't even care what people say in the boards. I don't even waste my time reading them. I don't read our own boards half the time. I don't care what people say. It's just crap. They don't know anything about anything. They just ramble on.
Well, because it always kind of blew my mind when, you just got massively ganked, and then you see this noob that comes out of nowhere and goes like, pwned 1v1. I'm like, what? You kind of got, like, sometimes they didn't even get the kill shot, and they're like, waltzing around talking so much trash over your ghost, and you're like, oh my gosh, shut up. Yes, Odin, go ahead.
That's why any PvP guild needs to get their own auto map server. That way you can find the dead bodies faster. Because before, we was having trouble getting directions. Like someone say, hey, I just killed Rathman over here. And we're like, where? We can't go find him and talk trash. But the auto map makes that so much easier to find a dead body to do it.
True. Very true. But, wait a second. Let me read that question. Oh, no, it's not a question. It's just that same noob that wants to be acknowledged yet again. So I'm not going to give him the satisfaction. More pissing contest. More trash talk. Gee, you guys have a lot of fans. Sorry.
Yep.
You can just say
Okay,
you can just what he said anonymously, and I bet you we can guess who it is.
I don't want to give him the satisfaction. Okay, here's actually a very more of a general question. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm gonna say word really funky because I'm French and well, my English and all that all the time. But oh God, if they can stop spamming the IRC, I can grab the question again. Oh God, where is it? Where is it? Okay, here. What do you think or feel OSI should add to Felucca to improve your PvP experience? And that was from SLV. Yes, Odin.
No, go ahead, Ops.
No, go ahead.
No, I insist.
All right, Gadget, go ahead then, because the other ones got shy all of a sudden.
I think what would improve my PvP experience is more praise to my good buddy Barrington, because he is one elite PvPer.
Barrington is all around the bomb. He's just wearing the wrong tag. I told him that before. And yeah, I have no shame. Yes,
I personally would like to see everybody fight everybody. I think they would find that it would bring so much more fun to Fel if everybody would fight everybody. But you got guilds that friendships and allies. I just wish your guild, Sin and Hot, would all fight just like we are, and I think that would make everything a lot better.
okay, I think Vice wants to say something, and then I have another question that came in from one of my guildies, actually. Go ahead, Vice.
Well, actually, it's a question, and it's actually one that I've been meaning to ask, and it's one that I always ask everybody whoever comes on your radio. And it's basically, how do you guys feel about pre-UOR, and would you or your guild go play on a pre-UOR shard? Odin.
I'm an AOS noob, man. I don't know what pre-UR was or is, really.
Okay. Obs, do you have anything that you want to say about it?
Not really. I could care less either way. I just went with the game as it's progressed.
So you wouldn't really care, okay. Gadget, what about you?
Anyone who knows me knows I'm too lazy to finish the characters I got, so I wouldn't start a new one on a new shard.
Okay, thank you. Shakira?
Sakara, yes.
Shakira, sorry. Tomato?
Yeah, but it's my name. It's not the same. All right. Sasgar here wants to know, regarding your scroll distribution system and everything. That was a very valid question. What happens to the people that only play on weekends, for the people that really don't have much time to play too much and therefore no chance of really accumulating too many points and, get the random 120 once every blue moon? What happens to them? They have to turn them in. What are the chances of, getting one back one of these days? Yes, Odin.
Yeah, we just had a scroll auction in here a few hours ago, and a lot of plus 20 stats went for as low as 4 to 5 to 6 points, and you get 2 points for each spawn. And if you find a raid and do it, that's 5 points. So you don't have to be that active to still get your 20s. scrolls. I mean, we do so many and rate so many spawns. We got a lot of them. I mean, you don't have to do 100 spawns to be, have enough points to do it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, this time it turned out that way, but, if there's some people are really, really active. I mean, even myself, I'm the GM of my guild, but I have, like, so much more going on that I don't really get to spawn all that much. Like, sometimes I'm going to come, like, if the guys are getting raided, and I'm going to come help defend or whatnot. But if you have these people that are really, really active and that have, like, an insane amount of points, and they can just come in and buy out everything, and the random guy that only spawns like once or twice a week is pretty much SOL. Yes, Obs.
Well, the points roll over too from week to week, so you can hold back your points. Like, say somebody spawns one week, gets 150 points. Well, obviously when they bid on the scrolls, they won't have any points anymore. So all you do is just wait a couple weeks until you have enough points to buy whatever scrolls that you want. Or like Odin said, a lot of scrolls go for hardly no points at all, and then you bid on them. But it works out. I mean, it's really good. It's really actually good for people that don't spawn and people that do spawn, because the people that do spawn a lot are going to get whatever they want, and the people that don't spawn a lot, it's going to take them a little longer to get what they want, but that's the way it goes. I mean, if you go in, especially with a guild like, with ours, you're going to have one protector. You're going to have, probably 10 reds, say 10 reds, 10 blues. You got a one out of, you get 6 scrolls. You get a 1 out of 10 chance of getting it, and same for the reds. So, I mean, it works out for the best for all people, and we've, formed it around so it accommodates, all gameplay.
Yes, Gadget.
I think the point here is, like, if you're doing spawns just on the weekend, you don't really deserve kind of to get a 120 major as much as a guy who did 30 spawns every day for that week, if you know what I mean. Also, you might feel like you're getting gypped in steel scrolls, Saskar. So just let your points build up, and you'll get them eventually.
It was kind of odd the person that asked that question was, we know what happened there with him.
Well, I guess, as far as that goes, I'm not really going to comment what your relationship with them was, but I guess it's the same thing that, I could say to Luniben. She talked so many things, like bad things about Elwood, because they were in a different guild together before. But, I don't know what her experience with him was. I'm sure it wasn't pleasant. Clearly she doesn't care much for him, and he doesn't care much for her. But, I look at the experience we've had with Elwood, and, I really have nothing but praises for the guy. So I guess we all bring out something very different from each other. And those two were just not meant to be in the same guild together. Yes, Odin.
Isn't Elwood Arkin?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember him, man. I don't think he ever sat down when he played. He was hyper, really hyper.
Well, it's funny because like I said, we have very different experience, and I just think he's the bomb.
I thought he was on crack.
Yeah, he was Barrington's boyfriend when they played in game. Not meaning that in any kind of sexual terms, but.
I didn't think he would have that kind of reference towards Barrington. So I didn't think of that.
That was just a quote that Arkin sent me. That the only reason he plays in our guild is because of Barrington. They were pretty good friends. Not meaning it in any bad way. I know this is PG-13.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess now it is time for the final question, since we're like 5 minutes away. And Viceroy, I still have to bite you for this. Already spilled the beans on that, but there's lots of pain coming your way, and you're going to enjoy it. Well, maybe not, but anyway, we shall see. So you guys...
PG-13.
Yeah, well, hey, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything yet.
Yeah, no blood. No blood.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys, where do you see yourselves in a year, in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years? Do you think LNR still is going to be where it's at right now? Is it going to be even further? Is it going to be, will it have dwindled, or do you have like any grand plans like down the road? Like, do you have, I don't know, do you plan on taking over the Shard? Do you plan on going to other shards? Like, what's in the future for you? Yes, Odin.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know if we really even care about what happens. I mean, I'm sure our core group of players will still be friends, you know, a year or two down the road, but it's hard to tell. It's just a video game. People come and go, and people put too much, you know, importance on being good or powerful in Ultima Online when it's just a game, really. I mean, so I don't know. I'm sure we'll all be friends, though, a year or two from now. There's no doubt about that, but, you know, any grand scheme, you know, I could really care less about.
Because, you know, there are very often, as soon as they start growing, you know, all of a sudden they're like, how about we take over the Shard? I mean, there was one of your members that posted, I thought that kind of cracked me up, but that posted on your forums, you know, we should just, like, dominate the Shard and whatnot. Go ahead, Odin.
Oh, I think we've done dominated and took over Shard months ago. If that's what you're asking, that's already been done, and we've been maintaining it for, you know, past couple months, you know. So, I mean, that's not even a goal on our, I mean, we've already done that, been there, done that.
You think you actually control the Shard?
Who else?
Ooh, fighting words.
What other guild by themselves, no allies, can pull off a Primetime Harry on Atlantic? What other guild? I mean, that's the challenge I'll put out these other guilds. No allies, fight the entire Shard, and not, you know, not Hawk go do a Harry, and not throw about DEI and Sin, the two of the larger PvP guilds. I mean, how many other Shards guilds can say that they can do that? None. Just LNR.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna say what GM told me this, but out of the three guilds of your guild, they told me that they're going to wait for us to get a little bigger, and then they're going to try to ally up against us, which I think is extremely lame.
Why not? I mean, isn't that what makes it fun to have worthy battles? But, you know, the fact that you pull off Primetime Harrys does not mean that you control the Shard. Most of your Harrys, you manage to pull them off because nobody knows about them until it's fairly late. Like today, just right before this interview, we actually broke through your defenses, but we only found out too late. So, you know...
Yeah, but you only broke through the defenses... You only broke through the defenses because everybody started either leaving or going down to help out other people or something. If the defenses were stuck like they were when, you know, the Harry was going on, you guys wouldn't have came through. I'm sure that you know just as well as I do, that's a very easy dungeon to hold. I mean...
Well, that was always the big thing that was thrown in our face, you know. Try to do, when you guys were all allied up, 900 of you, do a spawn and successfully do a spawn. So we started doing spawns. Then it was do a Harry. So we just started doing the Harrys in the morning. Well, then that wasn't good enough. It was do a primetime Harry. So we do primetime Harrys, you know, 7, 8, 9, 12 times a week. But now now the thing is we've got to announce it 5 weeks ahead of time, post it everywhere, and defend it. I mean, it just snowballs. When's it going to end? I mean, we've proved what we've done, you know, to you guys for the past 7 or 8 months that we've, you know, run the Shard. I mean, I don't see what more we have to prove or worry about it, really.
Yeah, I plan on for the future mass recruiting and seeing how many people we can get in LNR to completely make every character that you see running around have an LNR character or tag on. That's my personal goal.
Well, you know, just to answer that question, and I don't even know if I can squeeze in one last question after that, but just to answer the comment you made, personally I do not consider that you guys control the Shard, because if you control the Shard, then you would be like guilds like, you know, Black Company or Spawners Inc. they control the shard. Nobody else gets to do anything. We spawn 24/7, and many other guilds spawn. You guys are doing very, very good. There is no question about that. You do Harry's on your own, and I don't think anybody can take that away from you. You have accomplished something, but there is a difference being able to do certain things and controlling a shard, and I think you guys are very far from that. But that's just my 2 cents.
But I don't think that Spawners Inc. or whatever Black Company or whoever them guys are have a 600 character alliance fighting against them, do they?
Well,
we have accomplished what we've accomplished with 600 fighting a 600 person alliance the whole time that we did it. Hot can say, oh, well, we ran this, we ran that, but nobody was around to. They had Archang that would protect every. He probably protected your harrowers. They would protect every single harrower with one guy. Like, there's no way in the world. I don't care how arty out he is. Not one guy is going to hold a Harry. Now, when Hot was big, I was in Hot for a while. When Hot was big, that's what happened. They had no competition. They were allied with you, PvP, Sin, the whole shard, and that's how they got stuff done. I don't understand, how people claim, oh, well, Hot ran the shard, whatever. Hot was allied with everybody, and they had one person defending. There was nobody left to raid the Harrower. Like, I just don't understand. Now, if you guys, I would give everybody complete props if they would go and try a primetime Harry. You guys, Hot, Sin, anybody, by yourselves and go do one. I don't think that anybody else could accomplish that.
Well, we could go on this debate for a long time, and some of the things I'm not even going to address now because, first, we don't have the time for it. And second, we will be interviewing the Hot Guild at some point, and, these comments that you're making can be addressed at this time, really. But I would like to ask
Can you being, great friends with Raph or whatever, why don't you push a little bit for him to stop being a little girl and not say, oh, I don't have a mic or I don't do interviews or whatever, all that bull crap. He can post on the message boards. He can listen to it on the radio. He can do he can do all that. He could get on here and do an interview. And he doesn't need to make, one of his guild members, do the interview for him just because he's too retarded to get on here and do it himself.
Let's keep away from personal attacks. If he doesn't want to get on air, it's his prerogative. But moving on to the last question.
95 Canadian for the mic.
Moving on to the last question. How do you guys feel about new guilds coming in, visiting our shards, and things such as the FL Guild that has been going from shard to shard and basically taking over the shard for a few months and then moving on to a different shard. We have quite a few guilds that are...
I wish that everybody would move to Atlantic and we'd have a big old party at the champ spawns. I don't think that everybody's as active as they need to be. I mean, I know that you say that everybody's doing champs 24/7, but I surely as heck ain't seeing nobody do anything. So if these guilds want to come over from wherever and, take over, the shard or, whatever they want to do, I'd really like for them to come do it and give us somebody to fight.
Yes, Odin.
Yeah, I agree with Obbs. I mean, this shard's become stale. There's no one to fight. There's no challenge whatsoever anywhere in what we do. And I'd welcome any guild or people that want to come and actually get, fight and, be active in the fell champ spawn PvP scene. They're more than welcome to come to Atlantic, and fight, and have a good time in a video game. Because this shard is, our enemies have become really stale and, I don't know.
Yeah, I would guarantee and give my word that we would not ally up with anybody to defeat them or fight with anybody anywhere to take over anything. It would just be us against them. So if people are inquiring or thinking about doing that, I would definitely give my praise to come on over and let's fight.
Well, we're going to have to wrap up at this point. One thing I do want to mention, and it's, you guys are doing really good right now, and you might want to be careful about, taking things for granted, because we've all been there at one point. HOT was at the top of the game for a while. DI was at the top of the game for a while. Sin was actually, too, at the top of the game for a while. Nothing lasts forever, so you might want to keep that in mind. With that said,
but see, we got more satisfaction out of it because we do it alone. You guys might have been at the top of the game. Hot might have been at the top of the game. Sim might have been at the top of the game. But it was only because of the other guilds that you guys were at the top of the game at any time.
Actually, that's not the case. But, I will get into that when we do the DI interview and when we do the Hot interview, because that was way before I even knew LNR existed. But
why don't you try to, DJ Vince Roy, why don't you try to get a little segment going on where maybe we can have the GMs from these different guilds all get together and have a big discussion, interview type deal.
Yeah, we can try that maybe at some point down the road. But for now, we really need to wrap this up. So I would like to ask you guys if there's anything you would like to conclude on, parting comment that you would like to tell the listeners.
Yeah, Obbs is looking for a good woman. If there's any women out there listening, set him straight, please apply to LNR. I mean, he's in desperate need of women companionship.
Yeah. I'm looking for a woman like a Raph, maybe to join and keep me company for a while.
You're hopeless.
Wow. Yeah.
Viceroy, do you have any?
I would like to give a shout out. I would like to give a shout out to Soul over there in Origin Doom. Hopefully getting some already.
Probably dying.
Yeah, I got one last question, and it's actually a good question, and which I didn't really hear, I don't remember ever being asked. And we just got about 7 more minutes. We're really running out of time though. Basically, a guild of this size, about 400 or so characters or whatever, how do you keep a guild of this size intact? I mean, how many council members do you have? How do you do it? How do you keep, for all these other guilds out there wondering how you guys pull it off and keep a guild about 400 or so people together, please tell us. Go ahead, Odin.
No one's demanded to do anything at any given time. If you're in game, in TeamSpeak, and we're going to raid or do a spawn or a harrier, you're not demanded to show up. You can do your own thing in game. Everyone's, plays the game in their spare time as a form of entertainment. They can do with it what they want. We don't give orders. We don't boss nothing. You're more than welcome to show up at any time you want to, but you're not demanded to show up for guild events or spawns or anything or raids. That's what I think attracts a lot of people. It's not like a second job. It's just a form of entertainment, a way to relax and have some fun with people and your friends.
Yeah, no matter what anybody says, we're fairly cool in TeamSpeak or whatnot, and people say, oh well, this system couldn't work, this system can't work, whatever. But in reality, you can't keep that many people happy if things weren't working out. And people are getting their scrolls, people are treated right, and that's why you see the increasing numbers. It has nothing to do with the Sakura saying that we're in Haven mass recruiting. It has to do with people having fun. Word of mouth gets around, hey, this is a guild we need to be in, and people apply, and it just goes on, from there. But, I think that it basically just has to do with the word of mouth, people getting around that, hey, we want to be in this guild, and that, and we come in contact with a lot of different people from a lot of different places, and I don't know. I think everything's going pretty good.
Actually, I never said you guys recruited in Haven. You guys brought that one up. I just said you had that you were mass recruiting. But that about wraps it up for me.
You was just saying that our recruiting process is we just let anybody in the guild, and we don't go up and recruit anybody. People that want to get into guild, they go to our website and apply, and they take it from there.
What is your website, by the way? Go ahead and tell all the listeners out there.
It's www.lnrguild.com.
All right, thank you. And go ahead, Shakara. Sakara, I'm sorry.
Well, you will eventually get there, but just remember, every time you mess up, I get to bite you in real life for it. So that pretty much wraps it up for me. This was the interview with the Leatherneck Raiders of Atlantic, better known as LNR. And yes, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks for having us. Unlike Rathman, we'll get on here anytime and talk about pretty much, if you guys want to have any kind of conversation on here, we'll definitely jump on and have it. We don't have to hide behind our guild mates and put them on the air for us.
Let's play nice. But thank you to Gadget, who unfortunately has disappeared during the interview. I think he had connection problems. Thank you, Odin, for being actually nice to me for once. Yay! But thanks, Odin, for being here with us. And thanks, Obsidian, for being here too. Yes, Odin, what you were going to say?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you guys for having us here today too.
Not a problem. Well, we're glad to have you.
Yeah, it was interesting to say the least, and actually, we can be proud of ourselves. We remain pretty civil to each other, even though we're enemies, but I'm sure we'll have fun killing each other again in the near future. But once again, thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, that wraps it up, and thank you all for tuning in to your radio with the interview with LNR. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, and then we're going to go follow up with Caesarion